Good morning. My name is Kim Evans. I'm the founder and CEO of Rideshare, where we want women to have the right to choose their rideshare experience. So we are primarily a rideshare community of women drivers and riders who are passionate about protecting and serving others. And I started this company so that women like myself could have options to choose how we want to experience ride sharing with others. So we all got up to something this morning, a cup of coffee, your business journal, perhaps your headline news. Well, I got up to my Google alerts, as I often do every single morning, because I'm constantly reminded of some of the dangers and safety issues in the ride-sharing industry, in particular for women. Over the last several years, there have been thousands of reported assaults against women within the top ride-sharing companies, and concerns about safety while transporting men also limited opportunities for women to earn revenue in this industry. So we know that women are less likely to perpetrate crimes against each other. So our solution is just to pair drivers and riders together. It gives us an opportunity to close the gap on the inefficiencies of our competitors to create this space for us when we've asked multiple times. We'll make sure that every single driver is vetted through an extensive comprehensive background check, and we also want to build a community of women. So our mission and vision are to provide a safe alternative rideshare so women get the right to choose who they want to drive them, but also our drivers get an opportunity and the power to choose when a passenger could be a potential safety threat for them. And again, we want these women taking care of each other in this industry. So in my own experience of losing a very dear friend who was kidnapped and brutally murdered by a man she didn't know, although it was years ago, it left me feeling uncomfortable and apprehensive in certain situations. So when the ride-sharing industry became this huge phenomenon, it was not something I was eager to partake in. Even when I needed to, when I was traveling, I had to find other alternatives. And there are also other driving forces for why I do what I do. And although millions of Americans use rideshare services every single year, I just happen not to be one of them. And I found there were many more women like me. So our business model is a two-sided marketplace where B2C, our company earns 25% of every fare. We also see a clear path to B2B with some community partnerships that we've already started to formulate. However, our revenue stream comes primarily through rideshare usage fees. So the ride-sharing market is expected to be valued about $210 billion by 2026. That says there's some staying power. So we know the industry is not going anywhere. We have identified our market as well as our customer segment. And although women are traveling a little less, working more remote, we believe that our market will be the same market that will continue taking rideshare services post-COVID versus public transportation. So while we know there is marketplace competition with industry leaders like Uber and Lyft, there are also other companies who advocate safety in the rideshare industry. But Just Her Rideshare is not only talking safety, we're taking steps to mitigate risks by decreasing potential threats against women. And even though safety is a priority for us, it's not our only narrative. We want competitive rates. We want to build a community where women are taking care of each other. So Just Her Hub is our community portal. It'll be a place where women can connect and engage and support one another. So we bootstrapped the startup of the company thus far. We've managed and funded our MVP, which is ready for approval. We've raised some funding, and we've spent some time developing the company. Our go-to-market strategy will just be to focus on a 15% Southeast market, launching here in Charlotte and then some surrounding cities. We'll focus on our customer segment, ages 18 to 39, and we'll talk about some importance of safety around some universities and colleges. And we'll do this through email marketing, contact lists, social and digital media. We'll also offer some incentives and rewards for early driver signups, but we want to create a really great user experience. So our team has over 40 years of business experience. I myself, 20 years of business ownership, but over 30 plus years on the user experience side in quality assurance and client support. Jennifer is our CTO, 20 years of technology leadership. She's led talent and initiatives in 3 of the largest financial institutions in the world. Namdi is a program manager for Google and a very involved advisor. He's also a founder. He's been with us the longest, and he's also have extensive technical leadership background. So in addition to our legal and operations, we wanted to create a culture early on where we wanted to give back. So we have 3 really amazing apprentices that work with us in technology. If we focus on our target of 200 drivers completing 5 rides per driver per day at an average of about $15, we see a substantial growth in revenue by year 2, break even by Q3 of 2022. So in addition to the $700,000 that we're raising on a convertible, it gives us about an 18-month runway. $200,000 of that $700,000 will go toward operating costs. It helps us with customer and driver acquisition, and for us to launch our beta this month. So in addition to raising funding, we're also looking for really great advisors and partners and involvement to help with the success of Just Her Rideshare. Thank you.
Awesome. I love the concept as a father of a near to be 14-year-old girl. I'm thinking about like when she starts using these, I certainly think this is a necessary piece. So I've got a bunch of questions on this one. So how do you manage, I guess, let me just ask the most obvious one, right? What keeps Uber or Lyft from adding a button that says, give me a female driver, that only shows up to female recipients? I know it's not maybe perfect, but what keeps them from doing that?
Nothing other, what we think. They haven't so far. We've asked. They've had years of implementing this into their business model. We feel that they don't see a need to do so. There is a market for us, but when there's no competition for you, then you're going to be doing business as usual. We believe that if we build a strong company, building community around these women, we believe that we will be able to sort of eat at their marketplace. And also in addition to, we're not removing ride sharing service for any other company. We're just offering options for women to choose. So we believe that if Uber takes a look at us as we potentially grow and scale, we believe that they will then recognize. I also believe that if they do this with the culture and the brand that they have right now within their company around these safety issues, I also believe that they would have to own some of the responsibilities of this is what has attached itself to their brand also.
And they probably run the risk of alienating a big part of their driver base.
Yes.
Yeah. So I love the university segment. Are you thinking of partnering with universities? Like I always think about, the weekend, like freshman weekend, the parents come on campus, they get like access to things like, are you thinking about partnering with universities as a distribution, even having parents be able to buy like packages of rides or something like that?
That's a really great point. We actually are. As I mentioned earlier, we have 3 really great apprentices that have been working with us over 8 months. They were supposed to be like a 3-month apprenticeship, but they're working with us. And one of them is a senior in college, and she's been working, even though she's in Texas, she's been working all of our universities around North Carolina because we are trying to find ways to partner with them. We believe that talking about the safety issues, giving them options, we believe that we will create, because they are actually one of our largest segment.
Can you go to the financials really quick? So one thing that kind of keep going back one more.
Yeah.
One of the things that stood out was just like, so you have this huge bump into 2022, and then you kind of get there, and then you just sort of maintain in 2024. Is that, I'm guessing this is predicated off of just staying in those original southeastern markets and,
Yes.
and no further expansion?
That's no further expansions, and that's only 200 drivers. One of the companies that we look at and we like to sort of compare, because we know that we can't compare ourselves to Uber and Lyft straight up and down, is a company called Safer that originated out of Boston. In their first year, they were able to acquire about 6,000 drivers, did about $1 million in sales the first year. Even though we're in a very different time right now, we wanted to be very conservative because we still have to balance out customer and driver acquisition, because we know that women are less likely to drive than men. We did find out some of the reasons why, but it's still a fact. And so we wanted to be very conservative. So that is just 200 drivers in the city of Charlotte. The data tells us that we have the potential to expand in these other cities by Q1 of 2022. But yes, those numbers are around the 200 drivers.
I'd say depending on what type of capital you're going after, I think if the 700K is local angels that want to see something good happen in the community, maybe have a bent towards safety and things like that, I think this can work. I think if you're going to go after any kind of professional or institutional investors, I think at a minimum, helping me caveat that this is kind of the P&L of Charlotte, and then we have all these other. To put the capital in, I need to see I don't necessarily see huge, but I do want to see a long period of growth. So just something that kind of stood out, and as I was looking at it, I'll let you.
Yeah. So this is a good presentation.
Yeah.
like, you're good at telling the story. You went through so many slides. I would think about, like, what are your 6 greatest hits from a slide standpoint? Because I couldn't read any of them, which is what's fine. Like, it's fine. Like, I mean, it's practice, right? I think one of the challenges that you're going to face when you go through this is that when you take on investment capital, people are going to want to see growth. Yes. And there's this sort of tension in a business between getting something right and scaling it. And I think that for your things specifically, you have to get it right before you scale it. And there are going to be outside voices, outside investors who are going to want you to scale it so they see growth numbers, right? And you need to find markets in which you can beat Uber and Lyft, where you can beat them, right? And once you find those markets where you can beat them, then scale to all of them, right? But don't scale until then. And so, like, I would think about distribution partners who can help you compete successfully with Uber and Lyft, where they already have your customers, right? Like national sororities. Like, go find a couple of that. Like, what are the big organizations that have membership bodies that are women who look at this problem and say, right on, that's me, right? Because, like, if you can find a couple of places, or like, where, like, the question I have is, where's the greatest cluster of women's colleges in the United States? I don't know. I assume it's Boston, right? But, like, where are 6 of them together, right? And really find places where you can show future investors that under these circumstances, we beat Uber and Lyft. They lose to us. Because you show them that, you got a great business, right? But I would really think about those things. Have you thought about distribution partners?
We have. We're in talks with organizations who support women who have been impacted by domestic violence in terms of the social impact side, sex trafficking, sexual assault. So we're building those partnerships. We've already started to formulate them. We've talked with women in these huge sororities. We've also
sororities interested in this at all?
Yes, they are. Yeah. We have spoken with some. We've also talked to our Muslim communities, our Hindu communities, where culturally they are prohibited to ride, and they're usually sort of, forbidden. But in this case, if I know you're going to be with a woman, then it might be an opportunity for you to partake in that. So we're building relationships.
That's a great one.
Yes.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because, like, there's this company called Fubo TV that nobody knows about, right? And they they totally cater. They started by catering to Spanish language people who want to watch soccer, yes. Right? And like there are some little niches like that where you can just win. Yes. Like, you can win. And I would really encourage you to think really hard about those niches and, like, get distribution partners.
I believe we have to.
Yeah.
Because this is a huge industry with huge brands. So we have to think about those. We have to be able to have a proof of concept. And that's where we want to go, because we want to create these communities, of sort of women taking care of each other, but also able to partake in ride-sharing services, which a lot of women do. We found out that a lot less women drive because they're just uncomfortable, maybe perhaps picking up someone late at night, but in this case, they would do so. So we definitely see an avenue for that as well.
Every time my 21-year-old daughter takes an Uber, to my knowledge, right, I watch it. Yeah. It's the worst experience in the world, watching your kid. It's like, but like,
so that's why we want to sort of create, we know that we can't guarantee 100%, but we know statistically it's less likely to happen. So when there's a woman driver or a passenger, because we want to protect our drivers as well, so on both sides.
The other thing I would say to you is a $700K convertible note at your stage, that's a tough ask for an investor. Yeah. Not a lot of upside in that. Okay. It's like, I think as a lot of investors are going to look at that and say, Kim, this is a good deal for you. Is it a good deal for me? Right?
Okay. All right. Well,
because depending on what's further behind
this. This is, we've got a 5-year. This is a few years. We just
are those real 2021 numbers?
These are real 2021 numbers.
What are you going to actually do in 2021?
Well, we were hoping. We are going to get in market. We're in for approval
right now.
You're at
zero right now.
We're at zero right now, and so we want to see what we can do in fourth quarter. We know it will be potentially tough in fourth quarter, so we may have to adjust these for 2022. But we still see a clear path to breaking even there. Again, we're only talking about 200 drivers. Imagine if we had 500, or imagine if we had 1,000, that we sort of overperformed these projections in a sense. So,
Good luck.
thank you. Thank you. I appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Just Her Rideshare.